What made you choose violence? I found my disabled sister Katie passed out on her apartment floor when I came for lunch. Her feet looked like purple balloons and she was burning up with fever. The EMT said she was dangerously dehydrated and her heart was going crazy from stress. At the hospital, when the doctor asked how many hours she'd been working, Katie started sobbing and begging me not to say anything. "They'll fire me. I'll lose my home." She kept repeating it over and over. That's when I noticed her hands had cuts all over them, and she'd lost maybe 30 pounds since I'd last seen her. She'd been at that packaging job 3 years. Something was seriously wrong. That night, Katie finally broke down and pulled this beat-up shoebox from under her bed. Her hands were trembling as she opened it. Inside were 3 years of pay stubs, and my stomach dropped as I went through them. Every single stub had 30% taken out for extended training. 3 years of training? I knew Katie could pack boxes blindfolded. She'd won Employee of the Month twice, and the other workers always asked her for help. The next morning, I drove to her workplace, my mind racing with questions. I found a worker named Janet outside, chain smoking with a resignation letter sticking out of her pocket. When I mentioned Katie's name, she went pale and looked around the empty parking lot like someone might be watching. Then she pulled out her phone with shaking hands. She'd been taking photos of the real schedule board for 6 months. My sister's name was right there, 6 a.m. to 6 p.m., Monday through Saturday. No breaks marked. Meanwhile, the official records showed 9 to 5. "Your sister's not the only one," Janet whispered, scrolling through more photos. My hands started shaking when I saw 5 disabled workers with the same brutal schedule, all getting training deductions. Janet explained that Mr. Alasta had been there 15 years and had everyone terrified. He controlled their job references for their group homes. One bad word from him meant they'd be homeless. Janet looked around again, then pressed a flash drive into my hand. I recorded him screaming at them for moving too slow. "He makes them clock out after 8 hours but keeps them working." Her voice cracked. "Last week he wouldn't let Katie use the bathroom for 4 hours. She had an accident and he made her keep working in wet clothes." I wanted to drive back there and drag him out by his collar. The owner, Mr. Torres, only visited once every 3 months. I waited in the parking lot and stopped him when he arrived. He tried to leave until I said I'd call the Department of Labor. In his office, Mr. Elasti sat there smiling like nothing was wrong. "Katie asks for extra hours," he said. "She wants more training. She loves it here. She's been here 3 years," I said. "Some workers need extra help. Katie asks for this every day." Mr. Torres nodded and said, "Tom has worked here 15 years. He knows what's best for these workers." Then he looked at me with fake sympathy. "Your sister gets confused sometimes because of her disability. She probably doesn't understand her schedule." I pulled out my phone, my hands surprisingly steady as I dialed Adult Protective Services. "I need to report systematic abuse and financial exploitation of disabled workers," I said, staring right at Mr. Alaste. The color drained from his face so fast I thought he might faint. His mouth opened and closed like a fish gasping for air. Mr. Torres reached toward my phone like he wanted to grab it, then pulled his hand back when he saw my face. "Now wait a minute, let's discuss this like adults," he stammered. Mr. Lasta jumped up so fast his chair fell over. "I need to check the schedules," he said, his voice cracking. He practically ran out of the room. Through the window, I watched him at his computer, frantically clicking and deleting, sweat pouring down his face. His fingers were shaking so bad he kept missing keys. What that piece of garbage didn't know was that Janet had already emailed everything to the APS investigator I'd contacted that morning. The APS worker arrived in 45 minutes. Watching her interview those workers broke my heart. They were so scared at first, but once one started talking, they all did. One woman sobbed about missing her mother's funeral because Lasta said she'd lose her job. Another showed bruises from being grabbed and shoved. Within days, the feds were involved. This wasn't just one facility, but 6 states of systematic exploitation. The FBI found training videos of Lasta teaching his methods to other supervisors. $2 million stolen from people who just wanted to work and belong somewhere. 6 weeks later, Mr. Lasti was arrested. The company lost all their government contracts and closed. Katie got $47,000 in back pay. She works at a bakery now decorating cakes and teaches other disabled workers about their rights.